Tony Rotten here. We're going to look at a rotten patent following the breadcrumbs of Lookoutfa Charlie and his interview, or his stream he shared with Art Bell interviewing a guy about, crappy things they're doing. So this was a patent that was mentioned in that stream. The patent number, I typed it in. This is what I got. It's the nervous system excitation device. I don't even like the sound of that, but here's some images and pictures. So there's some other interesting things that go along with it. So here is some, just where you can keep going. Show list. Okay, so the description of this was July 16th of 1968. G.P. Flanagan filed March 13th of 1962. 2 sheets, a power supply, RF power audio source of generator, modulator, audio signal, figures. So RF frequency figure 4. I'm just going to read through this the best I can. United States Patent 3393279, nervous system excitation device. Gillis Patrick Flanagan, Bel Air, Texas, assigner to Listening Incorporated, Arlington, Mass, a corporation of Massachusetts, filed March 13th of 1962, serial number 1793373, claims. This invention relates to electromagnetic excitation of the nervous system of a mammal and pertains more particularly to a method and apparatus for exciting the nervous system of a person with electromagnetic waves that are capable of causing that person to become conscious of information conveyed by the electromagnetic waves. It is an object of the present invention to provide a means of initiating controllable responses of the neurosenses without applying pressure waves or stress waves to the ears or bones. Maybe they won't notice. Another object of this invention is to provide a means of causing a person to receive an oral perception of the sound corresponding to the audio modulation of radio frequency electromagnetic waves that are coupled by the nervous system of the person. These and other objects of this invention will be understood from the following drawings and description of the invention wherein. And so it talks about its figures. You have a schematic illustration, a circuit diagram. You can go and look these things up if you want. The present invention involves the discovery that certain electromagnetic waves induce responses in the nervous system of animals. In human beings, a response is produced when some or all of the person's nervous system is placed within a field of electromagnetic waves having a radio frequency above the audible range. In addition, when the nervous system of a person is contracted by modulated electromagnetic carrier waves, such as of such a frequency. Let me reread that. In addition, when the nervous system of a person is contracted by the modulated electromagnetic carrier waves of such a frequency, the nervous system is responsive to the modulation of the carrier waves. Each individual nervous system is at least somewhat selective in respect to the frequencies in which it is most responsive. A frequency to which the nervous system of a person is demonstratively responsive can be determined by varying the frequency of carrier waves that are modulated by an information signal, such as speech or music, and measuring the frequency of such waves that produce the sensation of hearing the sounds corresponding with the modulating signal. I am not an expert here in any way, shape, or form, but just by reading that, I'm thinking of, Charlie put out a video of a reporter who had a very strange encounter with somebody popping up behind him, and Charlie notes a few interesting things within that video, which have all been scrubbed. I tried to find that. It's not on YouTube, and with an initial quick search, I couldn't find it. I did find somebody who was making fun of him, though, and that is where I found the original video. But so that I could see the whole entirety, because Charlie just plays a small little bit of it. But I wanted to see the whole, I wanted to be able to see the whole thing in action. And that is what the guy does, something very strange. And I'm just wondering if that burst, maybe I could go comment on Charlie's video, but it's a probably stupid thing anyway, and I don't want to encourage weird people to come over and harass me. But but could that initial that came out, that kind of disruption in the frequency, could that be this? Could that be this when it says that a frequency to the nervous system of a person, such as speech or music, and that guy comes out with a very, anyway, that's just what it makes me think of. I'm probably getting a little too far down the conspiratorial rabbit hole, but reading that made me think of that. So for whatever that equals. So I'll keep reading. I'm sorry. But we are following Charlie. So I want to say these things. I kind of want to encourage you to go check him out and see what you guys think. In the method of the present invention, a response is initiated in the nervous system of a mammal by disposing at least a portion of that nervous system within the field of electromagnetic waves of a radio frequency above the aural range. In a preferred embodiment of this invention, the field to which the nervous system is exposed is a field containing modulated electromagnetic waves in a particular radio frequency to which the individual nervous system is selectively responsive. You see, that's what I'm thinking. Like, not everyone is going to have the response you're looking for. And so I'm picturing the guy like turning the dial to find what the majority of the people in, say, the protest might be using, or might be frequencing in, or something like that. And then it makes me think, could I not have an unheard pulse, an unfelt? Maybe you can feel it. I don't know what even people recognize it as being felt. But could I not have something that is being dispersed, that could cause the human bodies to all start kind of compressing into a similar frequency pattern? And what I mean by that is like a drum circle, is what I'm thinking. Could I not have some kind of rhythmic heartbeat that causes everyone in the area to already be vibrating at a specific type of anxiety or relaxation frequency that allows this other thing to come in and get the more bang for its buck? Not everyone is going to, experience this thing that I'm trying to, but a large portion of the group might, because I've already brought them down to a specific frequency. If you understand what I am asking, and you go, that is a good question, Joni, and restate it for me so that it makes sense, and then give me an answer. If you don't know what I'm talking about, don't tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay. I'm not even saying that I'm right. I'm just throwing out these weird ideas that I have when I'm reading these things. And I'm asking, are these so far out there? Are these possibilities? I'm the devil, and I'm asking you questions. Could I use this in this way? Could I not do this? Would that work? And you go, no, that wouldn't, because that frequency and this are going to not work together. And okay, well, let me think of something else. That would be rad if somebody knew what the fuck we're discussing here, and what exactly can this little patent machine do? Okay, I'll keep reading. Maybe it will tell me further down. How it's not that long. Okay, where did I go? Okay. So we got that. All right. So yeah, so it says in particular, preferred embodiment of this invention, at least a portion of the nervous system of a person is exposed to audio modulation electromagnetic waves having a radio frequency such that the person experiences a sensation of hearing substantially free of distortion the information which is conveyed by the audio modulation. Makes me think of that, Real Genius movie where they shoot down into his braces. The present invention may be used as a hearing aid, as an aid to teaching speech to a person who is born deaf, and as a means of communicating with persons in locations at which the noise level is high, as a device by which a person can listen to an audio signal that cannot be heard by others. You know what I mean? Okay. Now I know it starts out real nice and I'm like, oh yeah, well, hearing aids, that's right. And then helping people speak. Yeah. If they're deaf, getting, not having that deaf tone to their voice. And then it starts to get freaking a little creepier. It says, a way of communicating with a person in a location where the noise might be high. So what is that, like a sonic ear? But it removes the outside noise. So I hear you. That's what I'm thinking of. And then it gets even crazier, by which a person can listen to an audio signal. Oh, but that sounds more like detective stuff, So it starts out real nice and then it just gets worse and worse. As shown in the figure of the drawing, in a preferred form of the invention, a field of electromagnetic waves is generated by a field generating means, such as a pair of electrodes. By the electrodes 1. I see what it is. So that's it. Electrodes 1. The electrodes 1 is preferably electrically insulated. For example, by surrounding them with suitable electrical insulating material, too. Also, I bet those are the diagrams. And are arranged to generate a field coupled with at least a portion of the nervous system of a person. For example, by being placed near or along opposite sides of a person's head. Could you just stand there, though? That's what I'm thinking. Wait a minute, does that mean that two people could just stand on either side of me? And if they had this device, I could be affected? The electrodes can be placed in direct contact with the skin, and the electrodes can be placed on or near various portions of the body, such portions preferably being near the spinal cord. And I realize how old this is, but I mean, that's what I'm saying. Where have we come since then? Because reading this, if I was a scientist, these are the questions I'm asking. Does that mean that two people could stand potentially in the future in 50 years? Could two people just stand? What if I could do you better? What if not only I don't even need those two people? And what if I told you that I could get my victim to not only agree, but hold the fucking thing in their hand, or possibly put it in their wrist or their earbuds? You know what I'm saying? I already know that your iBuds and several others, but iBuds specifically, because I did a deep dive, or not a deep dive, but I did a search and looked into this after seeing something while I was researching something else, and it was mentioned that your iBuds can actually tell what you're saying by the way you move your mouth. It doesn't actually even have to hear you. So if you whispered or if you mouthed the words to a person, say across the room, your earbuds actually know what you said because they're measuring the movement of the jaw in the ear canal. And it knows the fucking difference between your letters. That's crazy. So that's a thing today. That's a thing. What's an old thing? It's an older thing. It's not today, it's, pre-COVID, if we're going to use that like a 9/11 or JFK scenario, pre 9/11. Remember when you could just take some nail clippers on a plane for your vacation in case you got a hangnail or something? That was pre 9/11. So that was already happening. That's the kind of stuff I think is that stuff that's come from these things. It's interesting. So the electrodes are electrically connected to a source modulated electromagnetic waves, inclusive of a radio frequency power amplifier and variable frequency oscillator indicated in the box 3, an audio modulator indicated in box 4, and a source of audio signal indicated in box 5, and the power supply for the signal source, modulator, and amplifier, which is indicated in box 6. Those are those little pictures we had at the beginning. The variable frequency oscillator is preferably provided by a manual radio frequency control means indicated by box or indicated there. Numerous forms of the components that provide suitable power and source modulated electromagnetic waves are presently known, and the known devices can suitably be used as long as they are arranged to produce a relatively high voltage output that has a radio frequency above the audio range and is capable of being modulated by an audio signal or other signal adapted to be conveyed by the modulation of electromagnetic waves, such a frequency. It, like your phone is what I'm thinking. A telephone, a phone. It's interesting that we use that in things like the Matrix. So put the phone up to their ear and then, or something like that. Or what's another phone reference where I think I've seen it in a horror movie or some kind of sci-fi movie where everybody that had a phone up to their ear, a pulse is sent and they all go crazy. So if you were, which makes me think of like Night at the Comet, and again, all of that, if you're in this box or you're in the phone booth or you're in the what is projector booth, you're immune in some way. And so then of course that takes you down to like the Faraday cages and all of that stuff as well. But that idea of the fact that's even in my house, and then I'm thinking, okay, well, everybody gets a Ring door. And when I say everybody, I mean everybody. If you want to save money on your insurance in this country, if you install a Ring you don't have to have the camera. But if you have a thing that just monitors when your doors open and close, that's all they want. Why do you want that? I can save a good, significant amount of money on my homeowner's insurance if I have a device in my home, not camera, but just monitoring when my doors open and close. And that's all it is. It's a little tiny thing like you would see a doorbell at a doctor's office, just a little box that sits above the doors. And when you open the door, it puts a ting on my, on the thing. That's all it does. And I couldn't for the life of me figure out why that mattered on my homeowner's insurance. The amount of times my doors opened and closed. And then it sits in the hallway, and every so often it sends out a little flash of light, which I'm assuming is probably taking a picture of my hallway or something, but it's a patterned burst. And, I'm somewhat required to have it if I am going to save, and I mean a significant amount of money. Otherwise, I wouldn't have it. If it wasn't significant enough, I wouldn't fucking have it. I don't know why I need it. It's not helping me at all. I don't have even a button on the wall I can push for an emergency. It offers me nothing except that it monitors my doors when they open and close and flashes me in the hall. So what is it there for? Maybe that's the deep dive I should go into. Anyway, that's the kind of stuff. So it's in my house. It's in my house. WikiHow, how to control people, make them think it's their idea. Save money on your insurance. Look, it's very invasive, or it's not very invasive. We just want to know when your doors open and close. That's all. You know what I mean? Okay. This is what I think of. This is what I think of today. You know, the devices that get thrown out there. They're in my house. They're in my hand. They're on my desk. I'm staring at one right now. Then I'm thinking of the horror movies where the machines come to life. And one of my favorites, that was one of my favorite scary movies, I suppose, even though I don't think it's scary. But as far as science fiction goes, I thought that film, where all the machines come to life, lorries and trucks or 18-wheelers are running over people, and Coke machines are shooting Pepsi Colas out of the, and pinging people. Drills are doing things. I don't know. That takes me to, the brave little toaster, and, leave a comment, leave a toaster or a piece of bread or whatever the emoji would be in the comments if you know the film I'm talking about, if you are a familiar person with the brave little toaster, and then shout out to you for being rad. Let me keep reading. The modulation can be, the modulation can suitably be affected by means of either an amplitude or frequency modulation of such electromagnetic waves. These waves preferably have a frequency in the range from about 20 kilocycles per second to about 200 kilocycles per second. And the output of the source of modulated electromagnetic waves is preferably at least about 1 watt, where the field generator comprises a pair of insulated electrodes placed on the head of a person. The extent to which a person is orally perceptive to the output supplied at a given wattage is materially increased when at least one of the electrodes is placed in electrical contact with the body of the person. Like an earbud, or like in my hand, or a watch, or even a necklace, something that would touch my skin even. I'm assuming. I mean, couldn't I just walk up to somebody and touch them? Vulcan death grip. In a preferred mode of operating the apparatus, I'm probably like, that is so ridiculous, Joni. You don't know what you're talking about. That sounds ludicrous. That's fair. Probably I don't. That's why I'm asking these questions. And don't tell me that I'm wrong like that. Don't be like, you're stupid. Say, no, you cannot walk up to somebody and just simply touch them. And here's why. Give me the fucking reason why. Don't just tell me you can't do it. I want to know why you can't do it. Okay? It's not that I don't believe you. It's that I want to know. I'm curious. That's why I like learning things. So if you're going to tell me that something I've said is ludicrous, then please do me a favor. I'm asking, I'm not trying to be an ass. I'm asking, please point me in the right direction then. Show me why that sounds silly, so that I don't sound silly the next time, so that the next time I can have different questions. Let's see. When control is adjusted so that the frequency of the modulated waves is a frequency to which his nervous system is particularly responsive, the person of whom the field of such waves is applied has a sensation of hearing sounds corresponding with the audio signal substantially free of distortion. And that's where, I also am interested in the same things that Charlie is talking about, because I study human behavior, right? So I come from this door. I want to know why we do what we do. And when people are acting schizophrenic or going and out and doing very bizarre things seemingly for no reason, or, people just freeze to death in their Texas shed, these are things that I'm very curious about. And since I don't believe in demons or aliens or some other kind of supernatural, I have to find legitimate answers. And like many of you, I've come to the conclusion that everything is a frequency. And so I must find some reason for these things to happen. And that's what I also think. And what Charlie is suggesting here is different than what I initially thought. So I did think for a minute, and we're talking about mind control, okay? MK Ultra stuff. So, you know, I can dismiss some of the MK Ultra, and here's why. Because I know humans and I know how we think. And all I have to do is actually plant the idea in your head and you'll continue it for me. I don't really have to follow you around in black cars. So, you know, I imagine that there was a way of intimidating people by, you know, showing up in black sedans and sitting outside their, you know, their office or their house, or, guys and a couple dudes in some black suits at the mall. That is totally doable, and I get it. But there's another layer under that, I only have, depending on the person, I might have to do it all the time. Maybe I do need to completely monitor these people. But a level of anxiety is created naturally when you have a fearful event. So all I have to do is drive by your house once in a black sedan and make sure that you see it. And then you will carry that memory to every time you're driving around town. And so suddenly you're now hyper aware of all of the black sedans. And therefore, I don't even have to bother you again, because a lot of people drive black sedans. Do you see what I'm saying? And so that is going to do the work for me. Now, this is just how the brain works. This isn't me making this up. This is me understanding myself. Know thyself, know how you work. So in an abuse relationship, so I'll take it from the MK Ultra and I'll throw it all the way down to the bottom of the barrel. I'm dating a guy, okay? And he drives a blue, Escort, okay? And this model. And he is literally the nasty. He stalks me. We've broke up. He's outside and he's stalking me. And I move and get out. I put a restraining order out. And I move all the way across the country to a completely different place. And every time I see a blue Escort, I have a moment where my heart skips a beat, even though I have to go back through all of the processes in my head. He doesn't know where you're at. You're in a completely different place. Calm down. That is a woman driving that car. That's not the same color blue. It's a little bit lighter. That is a California plate. Your brain, in a matter of seconds, tries to rationalize that instant fear that comes onto that car, okay? And that is a fact. And anybody that has ever been stalked knows that to be a fact. Okay, I speak from personal experience and speaking to many other people who are stalked victims. This is why this happens to us. And we have to rationalize down and know that forever, no matter how relaxed, no matter how calm, no matter how far away we get, forever, we will always have a quick, palm sweating, heartbeat skipping second when we see that car. Okay, that will forever happen for you. Even if you know the person's dead and you've been to the funeral and you've seen the coronary part, for a fucking fact the douchebag's in the ground. You cannot remove it. It's there. It's burned into your consciousness. And so now you'll forever have a quick reaction, even if you're unaware of it. So even if you're unaware and you're not thinking to yourself, I hate blue Escorts, that's not going to happen in 30 years. But what will happen is is something that can be monitored on an EEG or something like that would detect that tiny trigger moment. And this in hypnosis is your trigger word. So I'll use this as an example here. When a hypnotist puts that trigger word in you, chicken or blue Escort, you outside of that hypnotism is going to have it now it's there, it's implanted. And so all I have to do is say the word chicken or drive by with a blue Escort and you will cluck. And years can go by, you're not still walking around clucking you know, but but in trauma, it's a trauma bond. So it stays. So this is what I'm trying to say. When I understand the mind, and even that simple understanding there that I have, trying to figure out why I have these things. And then I'm reading this kind of stuff and I'm seeing these kinds of things. It's very hard for me not to go, that is an extremely manipulatable and easy door to go. So it's not a stretch. And when we're talking about taking, I don't have to have the blue sedan now, right? I don't even have to drive by you once now. So in the scenario before where I'm saying, I only have to drive by with a blue sedan once, or stand in the mall or the airport in a black suit once. I no longer even have to do that, because all I need is my social media and my conspiracy reports to make everyone aware of the shadow people, to make everyone aware of the shapes in the sky, to make you aware. You're now hypnotized, you're triggered. So now if I walk outside and I see some symbol in my sky, or, some symbol somewhere, that blue Ford Escort or whatever, right? That's all it takes. Now I've learned, whenever you see this, this is what is happening. It's the same concept of like Salvador's dog. It's the exact same thing. The trigger's planted now. So when they're talking about taking over the world by a fake alien apocalypse, do you know why I'm not so far from believing that to be a possibility on the table? I'm not saying they're going to do it, but so many people are triggered into that right now. There are so many people that are, and people who didn't believe in aliens yesterday, suddenly they see something in their sky and they think aliens. And I'm asking the question with this article right here. If I could do that to a physiology, can I not do that to particles in the air? Can I not send a signal into the air and cause those, I don't know, silver nanoparticles to combine together to make the illusion or the shape of a ship in the sky? I don't know, but that's the questions I'd be asking. That's exactly what I'd be asking if I was a scientist, right? I'd be saying, could I do that? And they'd go, well, yeah, really, we could do that. Or no, we can't do that because of X, Y, and Z. And then I'd go, oh, okay, well, X, Y, and Z. Well, then could we do this instead? Yes, we could. Yes, I can do that for you, Mr. President. These kinds of things. I'm probably getting way off. Let's see. I'm just going to skip down here for a minute. I think we get the idea. Because this is a mind control device here. So I claim, one, a method of transmitting audio information to the brain of a subject through the nervous system of the subject, which method compromises in combination the steps of generating a radio frequency signal having a frequency in excess of the highest frequency of an audio information to be transmitted, modulating said radio frequency signal with the audio information to be transmitted, and then applying said modulated radio frequency signal to a pair of insulated electrodes and placing both of said insulated electrodes in physical contact with the skin of said objects. The strength of said radio frequency electromagnetic field being high enough at the skin surface to cause a cessation of hearing the audio information modulated therein in the brain of said subject, and low enough so that said subject experiences no physical discomfort. In other words, they won't know that it's happening. And of course, as we've been reading, if you're following along here in the meaning of life, that concept of mind manipulation there, the mirrored hand experiment, these kinds of things, they're all linked in here. They're all understanding how the brain perceives things. would I even notice? I can't. What I think of here, that maybe that's the wrong direction. Okay, so con men's life. So if you know anything about magicians, then you're probably familiar with shoot, I knew it would leave my brain. Fudge. Apollo. He's a con, he teaches cons, or he shows you, he exposes them. But he's a pickpocketer. He's a professional pickpocketer as a magician. So that is what he does as his work. So if you're not familiar with Apollo, go look up Apollo the magician or con man and you'll find him. And so anyway, that's what those pressure points do. When somebody is pickpocketing you, they need to make you unaware that your wallet or your right cheek is being touched. And so in order to get your brain to not register the right shoulder of your handbag in any weight that might go into it, right? There, or into your pocket, right? Or into your jacket pocket. Not only do they have to be really smooth, but they have to cause you something that distracts you. And oftentimes that's done with maybe an arm shake, or, maybe, they'll, they might put their hand on your shoulder or on your wrist or something like that. Maybe it's such a split second. They do it the minute they bump into you, the wallet's out of the purse. So that in people that are con men. That is what I hear here. They're trying to find that one spot they can exploit where you won't detect it. They can sneak right in there. They got to be, but they can sneak right in there at that nanosecond where you're distracted. Your conscious aura of yourself has been infiltrated for a minute. It causes physical discomfort, and then you hear a voice. So you're not feeling anxious, or so in the world of schizophrenia, if we're going to say this, the idea of somebody going and doing something crazy and then coming back and saying, well, for the last few weeks, they've been saying that they're hearing voices. They've been upset about this. They're very anxious. They're doing kind of irrational behavior. See, that's visible, and that's causing discomfort. So are these guys being experimented on to find just the right point? And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And that's why sometimes, things don't work out so great. I don't know, but it can be done. They're telling me they can do it, so if it can't be done, they're sure spending a lot of money trying to figure out if it can. That should scare you in itself, even if it can't be done. And even if you don't believe these things. But that's definitely causing discomfort. We need it to be invisible. We don't want their families to notice. We don't want that. Or maybe they do. I don't know, but that's what I'm asking. So then the method is, is that wherein said modulated electromagnetic field is coupled with a portion of the nervous system contained within the person's spinal column, or their staff. The apparatus for transmitting audio information to the brain of a subject through the nervous system of the subject, comprising in combination means for generating a radio frequency signal having a frequency greater than the maximum frequency of said audio information, means for modulating said radio frequency signal with the audio information to be transmitted. Electrode means adapted to generate a localized radio frequency electromagnetic field. Thereby, when excited by a radio frequency signal, and means coupling said modulated radio frequency signal to said electrode means having a surface adapted to be capacitively coupled to a localized area at the surface of the skin of said subject when placed in physical contact therewith, whereby said electrode means may generate a localized radio frequency electromagnetic field modulated by said audio information at the surface of the skin of said subject and means of said surface of the said electrode means for insulating. Okay. Here's what I thought of. I thought of that film, The Happening, where the plants start sending out a vibrational frequency. That's how that author decided to express this idea, where not a device, but nature itself giving off a frequency that causes people to just kill themselves, to do very irrational things. So here is some of the applications. You can see there, means of aid hearing, therapeutic devices, and then here is, so what are these companies? So yeah, you'd have to look at these companies. Assignee, the intellectron core transducer for stimulation of facial nerve systems. It just gives you an idea of what they can do, the good stuff they can do. If they can do these things, and you can only imagine what bad stuff they can do. The Wellcome Foundation, the Beckman Institute instruments, clinical systems, in particular for treatment of tumors. There's one for hearing aids or a device for the deaf, suppressed carrier signals, Audimax, that's electrophysical research, Storrs Instrument Company for cochlear implants. So a lot of stuff with the ears. Right. And similar documents, nervous system, body vibrator, a body vibrator. What the hell? For headphones. Bone conduction. So probably the newest thing we'd see now or we'd be familiar with is the cochlear implants. And I think those actually go into the skull now. They're not even like a hearing aid. Hearing aids are unseeable these days, from my understanding. The nervous system of a mammal. So method for stimulating the nervous system of a mammal. Nervous system device. And there's some legal things. Bioelectron, electromagnetic field. So there's that patent. I'm done. I have nothing else to say about this. That seems a little, and that's the problem I have, because I know I sound real douchey when I say things like, this stuff sounds scary when I come across it. And, yeah, but, what if your kid was deaf? Agreed. I would absolutely go and do these things. I like doctors. I like dentists that keep my teeth in working order. I like eye doctors that allow me to see. I like, auditory doctors that allow us to hear. I like somebody to, fix my bone if it is broken. What I do not like is when these things are then experimented on and used in horribly nefarious ways. And because I can't control the other, I try to avoid the former, as much as possible. And that's the problem I have, is I'm not against, even getting, a vaccine, if that's, if that is what it is doing. I am against being lied to, being manipulated. I'm against the psychological and physical abuse on human beings, from war to, a teen treatment center. I am against, any of these things, underground bunkers of experimentation. I am against, Hobby Lobby who only buys from China. I'm against these things. And I'm stuck in the same world as everyone else because, by golly, I want some yarn and I can't get it unless I go there, and that's what I have a problem with. So, what do? You try not to, maybe you do your best because I'm not perfect. Crap knows I like to go, harass things to buy as much as anyone else. Well, no, not as much. That's not true. But I don't hate it. I mean, I do enjoy a little shopping spree every now and then. But I think the problem lies with the abundance. It's not being thoughtful. It's a consistent whim instead of, oh, I bought that dress because it was pretty and I don't know why I bought it, but I'm a girl. Okay. To, a closet full of them. I think we could start there and then we'll get rid of the occasional one that we think is pretty. First, let's stop with the too much of going to the doctor. You will have something wrong with you. Eventually, they're going to find something, even if it's you have low iron today or you need more vitamin D in your blood work. If you're going to go, they're going to find something wrong with you. And so maybe we stick to just going to the doctor when something's wrong with us. But then you go, but Joni, they wouldn't have found my cancer if I hadn't have been going for just a well check. That's fair too. So I don't see a way around this because, both sides have a very fair argument. Both sides, are hard to disagree with. So, what are we? Caught in a trap? I can't get out, because I love it so much, baby. I think it's too much, baby, but you get my point. You know, just thoughts. Okay, 47 minutes worth of thoughts. Bye.